All right. Thank you so very much for staying with Facing the Nation. Of course, we apologize for that lengthy delay. We are waiting on the minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. And of course, I did say earlier that she is the newly elected first. And as I speak, she's entering the door. So she should be on set in less than a minute, and this is something else that she'll owe us for. She owes us so many things already, so we're here stalling waiting for her. But once again, thank you very much to Minister Bulkan for coming and talking things local government. And some of the discussions we were having off air just now is the fact that, I think we need to get to a point whereby we get our citizens hyped and we build a momentum, and as excited as we get for general and regional elections, we need to get to that stage where we get as excited and as hyped for local government elections. I know Minister is a bit skeptical. He doesn't think that we'll get to that height, but I think it's doable. And the good thing is that the more we open it up, we're already saying that it's when you hear regional and general elections, we think about the giants, just the giants, the PNC, the PNU, and the AFC, and the PPP. But a good thing with local government election is that you can even have single persons joining and getting involved and so on, and registering their groups and their parties. And I think we can get to the stage eventually whereby we get very excited, as excited as we get for the big elections. Those are the general and regional elections. But enough of we're still going to talk some more about elections, because we have to talk about elections with my next guest, who is finally here. And again, as I did say, that's not a charge for Minister Ferguson. We have several outstanding for her. But Minister Ferguson, welcome back. And even before she speaks, I would like to take this opportunity for the first time to publicly, even though we've done it behind closed doors, to publicly congratulate her, because we're focusing on her in the fact that she is the newly elected first. I mean, our party structure provides for 2 vice chairs, but Minister Ferguson is the first vice chair, and she is the newly elected. And I think I've been trying to dig into the history books. I think she's the second in history, in the history of our party. She is the second female female first vice chair. And again, we want to congratulate you and welcome you back to Facing the Nation. I think I got my history mixed up there. I was talking about Minister Lawrence, who is now the female chairperson of our party, and she's the second female chairperson, I think second only to Jane Phillips Gay. And I know if I only get this wrong, Winifred Gaskin, sorry, not Jane Phillips Gay, because if I only get this wrong, my historians in the PNC are just waiting for me to come off the call and say, no, you're very wrong. Yes, so Minister Lawrence is the second female chairperson, people are saying chairman, I prefer to say chairwoman, of our party, second to Winifred Gaskin. I can't remember what year it was, but I'll eventually get that for you. But to Annette Ferguson, we're focusing on Annette Ferguson today, who is first vice chair of the People's National Congress Reform. Congratulations, you ran a good race, a clean race, mind you. And as a woman, as a young woman, we're also very, very proud of you. I know in this part, I'm not going to tell you her age, but in this part of the world, we don't refer, in other parts of the world, we don't refer to people our age as young anymore. But in the political realm, we are all young people. So I am pro-youth and I am pro-woman. So once again, congratulations and welcome back to Facing the Nation.
Thank you very much, Malika, for having me once again on Facing the Nation. But before we get into our briefing, allow me this opportunity to speak briefly to the people in TV land.
Go ahead.
First of all, for those of you who were delegates or observers at our last Congress, I want to publicly express my gratitude to you for giving me the support on Sunday, the 19th of August 2018. So once again, thank you very much, and I trust that we will continue to work together collectively to build this great party of ours. Once again, thank you, and God's richest blessings.
All right, great. Even before we talk about plans and aspirations and so on. She's not even a full week old in the post. Talking about a week old, I should take this opportunity also to publicly say happy belated birthday to her, because it was a great birthday gift. Her birthday was on Monday, and really and truly those results did not come out until early Monday morning, just after midnight. So Minister Ferguson, also happy belated birthday to you. And I know you're surrounded by lots of love and and a whole lot of mentors who are watching and they're watching. They'll call you out. We will all call you out. So happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk, because before the elections, and again, I know it has to soak in some more, and she cannot. There's nothing for her to say that I've done this or I've done that so far. But in terms, even as you campaign, and even for the 2 days on the ground in Congress Place, can you compare because I know one of the things you did talk about was the fact that you wanted to strengthen, not necessarily just specifically the GYSM, but you wanted to strengthen the youth presence in our party. In terms of what you think you can contribute, because, and again, viewers, let me remind you, the PNCR is a giant. It's not one person who runs it, and there would have to be consultations. There's a central executive committee, and I must say congratulations to every single person who would have been elected as a CEC member. I'm one of the persons who ran, but I'm not on the committee this time around, so I'd like to say thank you very much to all of you also who, so internally and externally, who would have supported externally. I did say this on social media earlier, and who would have voted for me internally. But enough of that. In terms of the things that you said you would do, and you would help your colleagues in terms of contributing and doing as vice chair, as first vice chair, and what you would have heard on the ground or over the weekend, because viewers, let me also remind you that it was a three-day delegates Congress. Are those things that not only the young people but people of the party, are the things that they want? Do they match with what you have in mind and your vision for our party?
Simple response to that, Malika, would be in the affirmative. Yes, right? Because I must admit, Malika, leading up to the Congress, I have been interfacing with groups, with people, even few young people within the party. And the common cry you heard is that things aren't being done the way they ought to be done. And we know that the youth arm of the party needs a lot of work. And rest assured, Malika, I would ensure that whatever they want is taken at the highest level of the party. But this can only be possible once you have consultation. So my first approach would be to meet with the youth executive to find out what are some of their challenges, what exactly they want. And once that is shared with me, then we can discuss it at the wider forum, right? And that's the only way you can see the vision being, unfolded, right? The other thing, too, that is common is that the groups, because mind you, the party groups are very, very important to the sustainability and the survival of the People's National Congress. Because without the groups, there is no PNCR. And what I have heard during the campaign, and even on the days leading up to Congress, and also between the 17th and the 19th, is that leaders, we are not reaching out to groups, and this is what they have challenged this new executive with, is that in order for us to remain relevant, be it in the regions, be it in the communities that we serve, we have to ensure that groups are strengthened. We have to ensure that groups are formed so that at least we can have our people mobilized at the grassroots level. So, even though that is my vision, the membership would have tasked us with the responsibility that you need to come down, you need to visit us, we need to have training done, we need to be exposed to skills training, these were the common complaints, I received during my period of campaigning.
The second one is significant indeed, whereby you're saying that the people want to see their leaders and so on. And I know one of the things that would have been raised, and this is public knowledge, and even before Congress, one of the things that people complain about is, all right, I'm a member, long-standing member of the PNC. I'm a grassroots member, however you described yourself. At the end of the day, you're a member of the PNC. And it's a coalition administration. So we have AFC ministers, we have PNC ministers. You have ministers within the APNU who came from another party, apart from PNC or apart from AFC. And one of the things they're complaining about is that, and you talked about it, people want to see their leaders of the PNC, but people believe that they should also be able to walk into the office of a minister who is, for want of a better term, PNC bred, so to speak, and be available to interact or to get assistance. And viewers, mind you, I am one who, I like to make this clear. Not because somebody wants help or they want to meet with or see a minister, they're necessarily, not because of that, they're not necessarily looking for handouts. I know the current administration, we're trying to move the nation away from what some people would describe as, becoming a handout nation. And the fact is trying to empower people and make people independent. What would you want to say to those people who feel that there are some ministers who are PNC bred, like I said, who they can't reach easily, and they feel that they should be able to reach them, because at the end of the day, the grassroots people say, oh, that's me leader, I put me leader.
Malika, I would want to start with
you.
Me.
Good.
Annette Ferguson, operating in the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. I have a system. Okay. What is that system? Every Wednesday, I usually see members of the public between the hours of 9:30 to 12. Right. For some reason, you might turn up there. I am not there. Perhaps I'm out of town or somewhere in the fields, or probably attending a meeting. But I have systems there. What are the systems? One, I have my personal assistant who is capable of handling any issues. If it is something beyond his stretch, rest assured, it is brought to my attention and it will be dealt with. The other system I have is that once you visit and I'm not there, or even if I'm there, I have a form. Once you complete that form and I'm not there, based on the issues you have recorded on that form, rest assured, those issues are dealt with. And my staff, they would normally return calls or give feedback as to what has been done. But Malika, as ministers, as leaders, we have an obligation to the people, because at the end of the day, it is the people who would have placed us there, and they're looking forward for some help, for some guidance. And I know I have an open door policy. If somebody comes in and say, look, minister, we're not getting contracts, we're not getting this, we're not getting that, I will sit that person down and explain to them what needs to be done. So it is for that individual or those individuals now to take the guidance, to take the directions, and proceed from there. So as I said before, Malika, I firmly believe that as leaders, we need to reach out more, because not only as PNC ministers, when you get into the streets, because I'm always on the ground, when you get into the streets, be it in the churches, be it in the clubs, wherever people socialize, the common cry is out there is that they're not seeing their leaders, they're not seeing the ministers. So I trust that with this new executive that would, of the People's National Congress reform, we would, devise a different paradigm, where we can do things differently, where we can, probably identify regions that executive members would be responsible for, and also the chairman and the vice chairpersons would be responsible for. So when you go out into the various regions, into the various communities, and we get these complaints, when we get back in our domain as leaders, we must be able and capable and ready to address some of the issues highlighted. If it's at the level of the party, we have the mechanisms to do so. If it is at the level of the government, if it is something to do with agriculture, we must be able to look, communicate with the agriculture minister. This is what is happening in Region 5. This is what is happening in Pomeroon River in Region number 2. You understand me? So at least, and not just passing these reports down, but we must find mechanisms to ensure that feedback is given, because at the end of the day, people are looking for us to tell them something.
Indeed. Now to come back directly to what is happening at the leadership structure, the helm of the PNC. As I did mention earlier, for the first time in years, after years, we are being, in a sense, governed, for want of a better word, as chairperson by a female, a woman, a fellow female. How does that make you feel as being part of that leadership structure?
To be honest, Malika, great.
Okay.
Why do I say this? In past times, the men were always, at the helm. And, as I said earlier, I had an earlier interview. Women are now, breaking the glass ceiling. We are now stepping up to the plate where we can be a part of decision making, right? I mean, not only in the political arena, but when you look at the professions such as, pilots, engineers, farmers, we see that women are playing a meaningful role and giving their contribution. So women being at the helm of the People's National Congress reform, I am more or less elated. And I know we have a lot to give. I will give Minister Valda Lawrence my fullest support. And as I said, I have a vision that I would want to see, the party going in a different direction. So I guess with her being the chairperson and the other executive members, we can carry the party forward. All
right. Finally, before I let you go and before we have to begin to wrap up, I always have to find a way to put you on the spot when you come here. And people know I ask it plain. I try my very best to ask it plain while being respectful. The official CC member list would have been released last evening. There are some public sentiments, a certain opposition leader, but I'm not going on his sentiments alone because sometimes that makes no sense. But I'm going to go on the general sentiments that we've heard in the last few hours or so. And again, people are still disappointed that when you look at the list, the CC members on the list, there is a cry again, what are our young people conveniences? Because the fact is, the list does not have more than 2 or 3 young persons, and this is yourself aside at the top in the leadership structure. What are your sentiments to people who, because you're going to get these questions, people are going to come up to you on the outside and ask you, what happened to the young people on your list? How do you deal with that? How do you respond to that? And in a sense, I think your response at this time would give some viewers at home comfort.
Yes, Malika, I know there were a number of young persons, including yourself, whose names appeared on the ballot sheets, right? But Malika, I firmly believe that young people should have been given the opportunity to be on the Central Executive Committee. Because if we're to look at it, time has changed. We're living in a more modernized world, right? And young people would bring a different perspective to issues, right? And the current composite, basically like stalwarts of the party that make up the executive. But what I would want to see, Malika, even though you don't have much of the young demographics being on the CEC, for me, I would want to push that perhaps each executive member probably work with a young person from within the youth arm. So it's not only are you educating them, but at least at the same time, you're developing their skill set right? So I guess at the next biennial Congress, we would be able to see more young people advancing towards the leadership of being on the Central Executive Committee. So that is what I would want to see, because I know young people, we have much to offer. And if we are not included, it's like a cycle going it's like a circle all the way around. So I trust that, we would see something being done differently, where we can have young people meaningfully engaged, have them involved in decision making.
Okay, well said. And unfortunately, we're going to have to leave our conversation right there for now. Viewers, I'm sorry if you're now tuning in, you missed a great one. In the beginning of our program, we had Minister of Communities, the Honorable Ronald Bulkan, who talked about things local government. And of course, I just concluded a conversation with newly elected First Vice Chair of the People's National Congress Reform and Minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, the Honorable Annette Ferguson. Unfortunately, that is all the time I have with you. Those of you who missed both of those conversations and you follow me on social media, they will be loaded to my YouTube channel and to my Facebook page a little later on in the day. Unfortunately, that's all the time I have with you. I am Malika Ramsey reminding you, I forgot my name there for a second, strange. I am Malika Ramsey reminding you to be good Guyanese citizens. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and of course, join me again next week. This has been Facing the Nation.
The views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of CNS Channel 6.